Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk about speedrunning. How did I get into speedrunning? What games am I speedrunning? What are my favorite games to speedrun? How did I, what game got me into speedrunning? I'm going to get into the history of all of that in just a bit because I have a pretty big announcement to tell you guys about first if you didn't see it in the title. I'm going to be speedrunning for the first time ever at Summer Games Done Quick 2018 next week. For those of you that don't know what Summer Games Done Quick is, or also known as Awesome Games Done Quick, it's an event, the biggest speedrunning event in the world. It's held twice a year. Awesome Games Done Quick, typically on the West Coast, and Summer Games Done Quick, typically on the East Coast. It's been going on now for many years, and this is the first year I ever applied because, well, I got into speedrunning last year. So I applied, and I got 2 games accepted. I just feel so fortunate to not only get into Summer Games Done Quick for my first time ever applying, but I had 2 games accepted into the event. I just feel so excited, and I had to share it with you guys because I wanted to give those of you a heads up that, don't follow me on Twitch, to know that, if you do watch Games Done Quick, to look out for me because I'm speedrunning 2 games. The first of which is Spider-Man Web of Fire. Yes, the 32x game, Spider-Man Web of Fire. I currently have the world record because I'm the only person that has a speedrun for that game, go figure. That's going to be held on June 27th at 12:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now keep in mind, these times are tentative. Actually, just the other day, my Spider-Man run was at like 11:45 a.m. So make sure that if you plan on tuning in to, watch me at SGDQ, make sure that you check the times beforehand. If anything, show up at least an hour before to see when I may be on, because times are always changing. It's a live event. This is several days into Games Done Quick. Times can always change. The second game will be pretty much that night, but it is the following day, June 28th, and that's at about 4:30 a.m. Eastern. That's Club Drive on the Atari Jaguar. Now, you guys might be saying to yourself, but Pete, what is with these game choices? Like, what? Spider-Man on 32X and Club Drive and Atari Jaguar? I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I'm going to explain that to you guys. But before I move away from Games Done Quick, for those of you that are not familiar with the event and why I'm so excited, this event is huge. This is what got me into speedrunning. This Summer Games Done Quick, or Games Done Quick in general, has grown in viewer numbers so much. Like, if you check out Twitch, which first of all, to watch it, you need to go to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick. We're talking like a minimum of 100,000 people tune into this event. At the times that I may be speedrunning at like 4:30 in the morning, it might be lower than that. But this speedrunning event is huge, and I just feel so fortunate to be able to get into this and to be able to show my passion for speedrunning with a much wider audience than I'm used to sharing with it on Twitch. And the support that my community has shown me over the past year in my my slowly growing addiction into speedrunning is so much appreciated, because without their support and letting me speedrun as much as I do online on Twitch, I wouldn't have bothered applying. So I wanted to thank all of you Twitch viewers out there for bearing with me through this grind to get into Games Done Quick. So let's talk a bit about speedrunning. How did I get into it? Why did I apply to Games Done Quick in the first place? And well, let's start from the beginning. So I've been watching Games Done Quick for several years now, and I always used to I never really understood speedrunning. I always used to tell myself, man, I would never do that. Why would I ever want to glitch a game and play it incorrectly and go through it as fast as possible? Like, why wouldn't I just want to play the game normally? Like, it didn't make sense to me long in the past. But then, as I watched Games Done Quick more and more, and you heard stories from people at the event, and I just watched like how optimized these games were getting. I'm like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. So I picked out a game. I picked out Splatterhouse, the arcade version. I specifically tried playing it on the FM Towns Marty. And I watched the world record video, and I tried to replicate move for move what was going on screen. Ducking under this enemy, sliding under that enemy, attacking at the right moment, frame perfect jump, abusing a weapon manipulation to have a weapon that you're not supposed to have for the first boss, and like all these little things, and stringing them all together in a perfect manner, because if you mess up once, that's it. You gotta like reset. And I started grinding away at this, and I'm like, wow, this is actually really addicting. It's really rewarding. The satisfaction that I'm getting from pulling off these perfect moves, playing this game as optimally as I possibly can. I'm like, wow, oh my god, I'm getting in the speedrunning. And while I didn't stick with Splatterhouse because I didn't want to kill my FM Towns Marty, I tried to boot it up on MAME so that I can practice with save states. I couldn't get MAME working with the game correctly, so I'm like, all right, let's just move on for a second from Splatterhouse. Let's look for other avenues into the world of speedrunning. And then there was this game that came out last year called Skylar and Plux. It came out on PS4, Xbox One, I believe, and PC. I played the PS4 version. I played it casually first. Amazing 3D platformer, by the way, for those of you that are looking for such a nice callback to the PS2 era of 3D platformers. You definitely need to check out Skylar and Plux. And I'll have a link below in the video description to all this information, my speedrun.com page. So any of these games that I mention, if they seem cool to you guys, you can click it on there and check it out. You can watch my speedrun videos. So after I played through the game casually and beat it and really enjoyed it, I checked out the world record speedrun for it, and I'm like, oh my god, this game looks way more fun speedrunning it than playing it normally. There's all these cool rolling jumps and tricks that you're doing and glitches, and I started playing it and started learning how to do the speedrun, and then I started exploring, and I started finding my own glitches, my own skips, contributing to the small community to speed this game up and get the time down further and further. So what turned into a game that took me originally 5 or 6 hours to beat suddenly became a game that you can beat in under half an hour, even less time if you played it on the PC. And I felt a connection to these other speedrunners because I was also at the same time contributing my own findings, and then everybody else was, working together to work this game down. And it was such a magical experience to be able to speedrun a game on release and kind of work together with other people to get the time down further and further and optimize my time and see my best possible time that I can beat this game and get quicker and quicker. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting in the speedrunning. This is like, I had the bug. I was playing it for hours a day, repeating the same levels, the same tricks over and over and over. What was my next logical step? Find a game that could potentially be taken from a good game, and turn it into an even better game, a great game. So what game did I do that with? Bubsy 3D. Many of you may recall my infamous video where I praise Bubsy 3D and call it an amazing game. Not quite an amazing game, but I pretty much praised Bubsy 3D on a certain video on YouTube in the past. So I'm like, you know what, Bubsy 3D, I remember having some aggravating times with that game, but I also enjoyed certain aspects about it. So let's try speedrunning it. So I started speedrunning Bubsy 3D. Watched the world record video. I grinded. There were difficult skips and jumps and ways to climb the walls and just completely break the game, but I kept up with the grinds, and I took the world record. I may have only held that world record for like a brief period of time before the previous world record holder, Author Blues, shout out to Author, he's an awesome guy. So welcoming, by the way, to new people in the speedrun community. And that's just one other thing I'll touch on, is that the speedrun community 99% of the time is just so welcoming to people that take on a game that they play or just welcome you into the world of speedrunning. So shout out to Author Blues for helping me get into the Bubsy 3D speedrun. He, of course, took it back, but I'm not done yet. I'll be back for that Bubsy 3D world record. But in short, I got into speedrunning Bubsy 3D, and that grind, that payoff of getting the world record after dozens and dozens of hours practicing these skips, these glitches, the routes, having the speedrun fail a half an hour in and having to restart from the beginning. Like, the payoff was just so unlike anything else I had experienced in games before. What's the next step? Find another game. I knew I had always liked Sonic R. I had always liked the Saturn version of Sonic R, so I'm like, you know what, let's try speedrunning Sonic R. And now Sonic R is one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm not even joking when I say that. Ever since I started speedrunning Sonic R, I started loving the game more and more. The soundtrack, the visuals, the quirkiness of the game. I've dumped in well over probably 150 hours into Sonic R. I now hold one of the top times in the world for Sonic R. I have 3rd place overall. Out of a couple dozen runners, speedrunners for Sonic R, I have the 3rd best time in the world. And the thing that I love about Sonic R is that game is so optimized. Like, every little movement that you do, the grind for that really pays off for me, because it comes down to the fact where now, instead of trying to save minutes where I would be in other speedruns, in Sonic R, if I'm saving 3 milliseconds, that's a huge deal. If I beat my previous record by a second or 2, that's a huge deal for celebration. Like, it's just so optimized. It's like a science of having to take a turn just that much better to shave off those milliseconds, to add up, to get that best time. I became addicted. My viewers on Twitch became addicted. We fell in love with the music. It just became so much fun. And I was like taken aback by how many people were showing up to watch me play Sonic R for 5-6 hours straight. I'm like, wow, people are really digging this, because I was a little scared, you know, being someone that would always play games casually from start to finish. All of a sudden, I'm taking a game and playing it over and over and over and over and over again for hours at a time. I did a stream one time where I was just practicing one glitch and skip in Sonic R, well, more of a skip, not so much a glitch, for about 10 hours straight, doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And there were people in there supporting me and egging me on, and they were like, come on, we can figure this out, because it's a really precise glitch. And I'm like, wow, people are really getting into this, and so am I. So what's the next logical step? Keep looking for other games. So I'm going to kind of do a brief walkthrough of some of the other games I've done speedruns for. Bubsy, The Woolly Strike Back. Yes, that new Bubsy game, not a good game, but I did speedrun that. I could beat that game in under 20 minutes. 19 minutes, actually. Sonic the Hedgehog, 2006. You might say, but Pete, why don't you speedrun Sonic 2 or something like that? No. Sonic 2006, while it is a bad game normally, the speedrun of it is amazing. The glitches that you do are so much fun. That game is so much different, so much more fun when you speedrun it compared to just playing it normally. Take my word for it. Watch a world record video of Sonic, or watch my video of it. I don't care. My time is really bad, by the way, because I haven't done too much practice on it. But I'm like, holy moly, like I can take a bad game like Sonic 2006 and suddenly have a blast with it. When that wasn't enough for me, like, you know, playing these platformers and everything, I'm like, man, how can I go even further? When I first got into speedrunning, people were like, Pete, will you ever speedrun an RPG? I was like, hell no, there's no way that I'm speedrunning a 5, 6, 7 hour game. Lo and behold, here I am. I did a speedrun for Okage Shadow King. Yes, that obscure PS2 RPG that had a port on the PS4. I played the PS4 version. I did a speedrun of it, but before I did the speedrun, I had to prepare my notes. Preparing my notes included watching the world record video, taking notes from other people's notes that they had taken on the speedrun, and kind of like compiling it into my own. I probably invested 20 plus hours, at least 30 hours, into making notes for Okage Shadow King to prepare for my speedrun. And then when I did the speedrun and I missed the world record, but I still completed a grueling RPG speedrun that took me like 7 hours to beat. I came back for another run the next day. Took the world record. Now, I will say that I did play on the PS4 compared to the record, which is on PS2, so load times are a little faster, but I'm like, oh my god. I just got the world record, essentially, fairly, on an RPG for not my childhood, but like one of my favorite PS2 RPGs. I could beat this game in 6 hours, 22 minutes. And I'm coming back to that game, by the way. I was in deep. When I did an RPG speedrun, I was in deep. I knew at that moment that speedrunning had taken over me. I knew that because I used to swear off ever doing an RPG speedrun. And now I'm considering speedrunning games like Final Fantasy XIII, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Eternal Sonata, like Shadow Hearts. I'm working on a speedrun for Ephemeral Fantasia. Yes, that game on the PS2. The first PS2 RPG. I've completely routed it out with notes. I've worked with the Japanese speedrunner. I tried an attempt, it failed, because it's a very hard RPG speedrun, but that's one of my next goals when I come back from GDQ, is to do an Ephemeral Fantasia speedrun from start to finish. It'll probably take me about 7 hours or so. But the process and the communication of my only way to work with somebody was someone from Japan whose English was poor. Heck, I was there with people helping me translate. I'm there on Google Translate trying my best to speak Japanese and talk with this guy to try and work out how to complete the speedrun for Ephemeral Fantasia, which at times is insane because you have milliseconds to get from point A to point B, because that game uses like a in-game clock system that's constantly rotating and you need to be in places at a very specific point. Anyway, where am I going with this? I'm going with this in that I'm in deep with speedrunning now. It's not just platformers that take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's RPGs that are upwards of 10 hours. I'm going to be doing a Dark Cloud speedrun. Glitchless. That's going to take me about 10 hours. Like, I am so obsessed and addicted to speedrunning, I don't know what to do anymore. Every time I play a game, the first thing I do, I turn around, and instead of going the way I'm supposed to go, especially if it's a 3D platformer, I turn the opposite way, I run into a corner, and I start jumping and trying to glitch outside of the level. And some of my viewers are like, oh, here he goes, glitch hunting again. But yeah, that's like the mentality I have, and it is a downside, because it is very hard for me to play certain games normally, because every time I start up a new game, especially if it's a platformer, I'm trying to glitch the game, I'm trying to break the game. Why do I do this? Well, because I found a game like The Core Gang on the Wii. The Core Gang is a very obscure 3D platformer on the Wii. No speedruns existed for it. When I played it casually, it took me about 8 or 9 hours to beat, partly because I was trying to glitch hunt a little bit as I was going through it. After I beat the game, I'm like, I want to speedrun this. So I spent a long time routing, glitch hunting, finding skips. I got that game down to the point where I can beat it in almost under an hour now. And it feels so rewarding because about 95% of the findings in that game are my own. And it just feels so rewarding to take a game, completely break it, and then be able to beat it so fast and know that all the findings, the glitches, the skips, the things that make this game faster were all my doing. It's a feeling that I've never had before from playing video games. Speedrunning has reawoken something in me that I have not felt, if ever, in playing video games my entire life. It's a competitive side to it, but it's also a community sense to it, working with other people. Yes, there's the competitive nature of trying to go for a world record, but it's not always about the world record. It's about personal betterment. It's about trying to push yourself to the best that you can to get a game faster and faster and faster. And if you can find the game where you can also find everything about glitching and skipping things in the game, it's even more rewarding. Other games I've done speedruns for. Torin on the PS4, that was kind of just like a casual one-night-only speedrun. I did an indie game called Mulaka, which was a ton of fun. I had a lot of findings in that with glitches. Of course, Spider-Man Web of Fire. There were no speedruns for that. There was a tool-assisted speedrun, which I looked at to try and figure out how do I do this from a human perspective, because someone was using a program to do like perfect inputs for the glitches and skips in that game. And now I can beat Spider-Man in under 9 minutes, and it's so fun, so rewarding. Spawn on the Game Boy Color. There was really no true speedrun for it, so I had to kind of like route my way through the game, route my way through the bosses, and that was so much fun. Club Drive, and the Atari Jaguar game that I'm going to be playing at GDQ. There were no speedruns for that. I did it on a whim. I was going to submit Skylar and Plux to GDQ. You're allowed to submit 5 games. They were also, by the way, about 1,400 games submitted to GDQ. Only 175 were accepted. Club Drive was one of them. I'm also breaking new ground. This is the first time that a 32X game and a Jaguar game are ever appearing at a GDQ, which I feel, privileged. I'm really happy that I can introduce these consoles into a GDQ event. I'm kind of excited for that, actually. But Club Drive, anyway, I took a game that didn't really seem like it would be a speedrunnable game, and I'm like, you know what, let's give this a try. Last-ditch effort, like a couple days before the submissions were closed, I sat down and I started optimizing Club Drive, a game that is notorious for being hard to control. It's a racing game on the Jaguar, very primitive looking, but I optimized it, and man, that game is a blast to speedrun. People love watching it. It's so wacky, it's so bad looking to a lot of people, but it's actually a super fun game once you sit down and you nail the controls. And now that's a game that I'm going to be playing in GDQ and in front of like about 100,000 people. It's just crazy to me that I get to spend a night being like, you know what, maybe I should speedrun this game on the Atari Jaguar. And then a few weeks later, boom, I get the news that I'm going to be playing it in front of a crowd at GDQ. It's just like, wow. Other games I've done speedruns for, a game you've probably never even heard of on the Super Famicom called Nujir Umi to Kaze no Kodo. Sorry, I had to look that up because I completely forgot the full name of that. That's one of my new speedruns, some RPG that's Famicom exclusive, Super Famicom. Did speedruns for The Bouncer. That's another new speedrun that I'm getting into. The Bouncer on PS2 from Squaresoft. Remember that one? Star Wars Super Bombad Racing, another one of my new speedruns. That one's a lot of fun. And my most recent speedrun effort is the Flintstones Bedrock Bowling. So with this one, what I tried to do, I tried to take a different spin and approach to this speedrun. When I saw this game, I knew it would be a good speedrun. This game, by the way, is notorious for getting reviews as low as like a 0.5 out of 10 from critics back in the day. So I'm like, all right, let's try this out. It's a horrible game, according to the critics. I actually kind of enjoyed it casually. But the speedrun is amazingly fun. So what did I do? I made a fun competitive atmosphere. I targeted one person, shoutouts to Mia Chums from my community. We both started speedrunning it, and we had this fun back and forth rivalry over the world record. This created an atmosphere where I wanted to try and get people involved into the world of speedrunning. So I wanted to get people that had never done a speedrun of a game before to do a speedrun with this game, because it's a fairly easy game to get into. It takes a little work to be able to finish a speedrun of the game. It takes under 10 minutes. And I pulled off my goal. I took a game that had a single submission on speedrun.com and turned it into a game that now has like 10 new times from people submitted on speedrun.com. We're all kind of like going back and forth for the better times. And, doing things like that to try and better the speedrun community, contribute what I can, get new people introduced in the speedrunning just as I was, that feels pretty satisfying to me. And I'm very proud of that. There's some other speedruns I've gotten into over the last year that are not on speedrun.com. Games like Super Mario Odyssey, I did a few speedruns of. I decided to ultimately drop that, though, because that's a huge commitment to get into that. Games like Xena Warrior Princess on the PS1, that was a fun game, but I never submitted that officially. Even games like Paranoia Escape on the PS1, which is a really obscure pinball game from Japan, and a few other games. Flynn and Freckles, a new 3D platformer that's just completely broken that came out a few weeks ago. I've always got my eyes open for new speedruns, so if you've ever wanted to see me speedrun or look for games to speedrun, you'll find me on my Twitch channel all the time trying to break new games and what games am I going to speedrun next? There's always some new games on my radar. Like right now, I've got Castlevania Legacy of Darkness on the N64 on my speedrun radar, as well as Tail Concerto on the PS1 as possibilities. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed my rambling about speedrunning. I'm completely into it. Like, believe me, I can totally do nothing but speedrun from here on out. It's that addicting. But I do still like to play games normally, so I kind of try and balance it out like 50-50, maybe more like 25% speedrunning, 75% normal game playing on my Twitch channel. And just speaking of my Twitch, for those of you that lasted this long into this video, just a heads up and a warning. For those of you that only come to my Twitch channel, know that I'm streaming from my YouTube notifications. Those are going to be coming to an end soon. So if you only are notified that I stream based on my YouTube uploads, please follow me on Twitter or Facebook, or follow me on Twitch, or get some kind of form of notifications from Twitch, because my YouTube notifications are going to be coming to an end. I'm not going to be doing those for much longer, just to let you know. So if you're like, wow, Pete's not streaming anymore, I am. It's just that I'm not posting the YouTube notifications. So anyway, I hope to see some of you. I'm going to be at GDQ the whole week, so you'll probably see me in the GDQ chat. You can't chat in there, I think, probably unless you subscribe to GDQ, which is something they did last GDQ for the first time last year. But I hope to see some of you there. I'll be in the chat. Be sure to say hello. Stop by. Hopefully you can catch it live. If not, I appreciate you checking it out anyway. And wow, speedrunning. Who would have known that a year ago I would be at GDQ? It's still hard to believe. So I'm excited. Hope to see you guys there, and thanks for watching.